Hey, everybody. Welcome to 2024. This is a big year. That number doesn't even sound to me like a number that I ever thought would happen because I'm an 80s baby. So the idea of 2024 to me was so far in the future. We'd have flying cars, we'd have uh I don't know, Jetsons life, Like I actually remember watching the Jetsons and um he had like a watch where you could talk into it, and the fact that we have that now is insane to me because as a kid I thought that'd be nuts, or they had TV screens where you could talk to somebody and see their face. Regardless, we're in 2024. The reality has not quite hit that we are in the future, but we are. And the future means new things are going to be happening to you creatively, to you personally, and how can you make space for everything? That's sort of the theme of today's podcast. I'm going to be introducing Jack and Rachel in a minute, and we're going to go through our wins of 2023 because I think it's really important to sort of address the things that did go well in the last year, even if they were really, really small. You met a guitarist and you started working with them, or you went to 20 shows and you got inspired, or you played 20 shows and you hit the next level of your career. Whatever your wins were, that's something we want to celebrate. So we're going to sort of anecdotally go through ours to help inspire you go through yours. And then we're going to talk about our resolutions, goals, intentions, whatever you want to call it, for 2024. So those can be, again, as small as making a friend and starting to play shows with them, or it could be something huge like putting out an album by the end of the year. Whatever that is, we want to know about it too. So, yeah, do do your list. Let us know how that goes. And then at the end of the episode, I am also going to have a bonus. We're going to invite Rue on to talk about Tidal's Collabs product. The Collabs product is a really exciting new thing that Tidal's launching, and Rue's going to give us all the info about that. So, action-packed episode. I know there's a lot. It's going to be a little longer than usual, but I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a great start to your year. And again, let us know how this goes, not only in the comments, but also podcast@cdbabypodcast.com. I do read your emails. I promise I do. I just may not respond to all of them because it's a lot. I get a lot of emails and I get a lot of other work emails too. So please don't take it personally if I don't respond. Just know that I am. Reading them. So let's just go ahead and get started because there's a lot to go through.
You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
And we're off. Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got
How's everyone doing?
this. Good. I've got this tea down here, and it's given a really nice goth effect to the recording. A little bit of steam, smoke.
I love it.
That's
I love it.
mysterious.
I've got
I
my
also
coffee.
have tea.
Nice.
Oh, wait, is
Cheers,
that a-
everybody. Good morning.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Got my Yeti cup. It's staying warm.
Got my Yeti tumbler.
Oh,
We
dang.
were
This is
making.
not a. Good.
Not an ad
So-
for Yeti.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
We were all three talking about how cold it is, but the reality is that Jack and I live in California, so our idea of cold is 55 degrees, and we're bundled up with heaters and blankets and candles, and Rachel is in 27-degree weather in snow, so
Yeah.
we really shouldn't be complaining.
Yeah, she's the only one not complaining.
This is chill.
Well, we're
Literally.
just going to get right to it today, because there's a lot to go through. Basically, one thing that we had talked about was how important it is to sort of celebrate the wins that you've had of the last few years, especially in 2023 was a tough year for a lot of people. And I think that if you did anything creative in that year, that is worth celebrating. And as this new year is coming, I know that it's hard sometimes to prioritize creativity versus all of the other things that we have, our day jobs, our children, our life changes, all of these things that are happening. And so sometimes it can be really challenging to sort of think, well, how will my music fit into this? Like, how will my songwriting fit into this? So I think this is sort of more of an anecdotal podcast. I don't know about you too, but I personally have a lot coming on the horizon in 2024, and I'm terrified about how I'm going to fit in the thing that makes me me. So, yeah, I mean, do you agree that it's sort of important to not only recognize the things that you did accomplish in the last year, but also just start setting out those intentions without them feeling like huge marathons, just sort of like actionable items?
Yeah, totally. I mean, if we're going to keep ourselves on track as creative people, like I think it's so important to have like those bigger goals, like the longer term ones, but also the the smaller ones that we
Yeah.
can like more easily check off and feel like, yeah, we are moving towards something because it's all about those little steps. Um, and yeah, like I really enjoyed doing kind of like the reflecting process
Mhm.
before we, started recording this to think back on the last year. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's important to kind of pat yourself on the back too with the things that you did accomplish last year. Want to be
absolutely.
don't be too hard on yourself, and
Yeah.
look forward to what we can do this year.
You know what? I just realized I didn't even introduce you because I just assumed everybody knows who you are. If you've listened to the podcast, you probably recognize Rachel Berenger and Jack Poulos. Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Polis.
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 Yeah.
So both of you have been on the podcast. So thank you again for coming on today.
But never all together. This is really fun.
I
I
know.
know. This
I
is
know. I
cool.
like a mixed group. So I will I'm just gonna go ahead and lead the charge with humble brags because and again, these are not, hey, I want to show off to the world all of the amazing things that I did. These are more for me reflections on, oh shit, I actually did do something. Because sometimes at the end of the year, I sort of feel like, oh, I haven't done the big thing that I wanted to accomplish this year. So I sort of tend to forget all of the other things that happened. Um, so for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I wrote a record in February during February album writing month, and I released it in March, which I don't ever recommend to anybody on the podcast or certainly any of the clients that I work with about doing something with that little time in between, but it was a really good exercise in just creating and letting go that I needed, and it was ambient music. So to me, the stakes were lower because it wasn't lyrical. I didn't have to go in and do like a ton of vocal mixing or anything to make myself feel better in that way. But I just released it, which was really cool.
Yeah. Was it
Um,
difficult to decide it was done, or was it a little easier because there's no vocals on it, or
it
because
was
that's a
actually
hard
the
thing for me.
It was the total opposite of any other album writing and creation process I've ever had in the past. When I've like made my own album, it could take me years to get it done. In fact, I'm in that boat now where, especially if it's lyrical, it's going to take me a very long time because I'm going to labor over every little detail, every little synth choice, every little drum choice. Like, is this lyric right? Do I have enough parts in this song? With this, what I love about creating ambient music is sort of you make it in a very meditative space and you don't really go back and fiddle with it too much. I might go back and be like, you know what, I could really use something more interesting in this section. So I might add another layer on top of it, but I'm not gonna, and there's a little bit of an editing process. Like if you fuck up, I'm sorry, if you mess up a note, you might go back and uh whatever, like bring that down for a second. But for the most part, there's really not too much fiddling. So it was a matter of literally finishing it on the 28th and then releasing it on the 17th of March. Just I'm I know I've said this before. I'm very lucky. I'm married to an audio engineer, mixing, mastering genius. So he helped, but get that out. But that was yeah. And it was also on the second big thing that happened for me last year, which is that I started a label with said genius and with my friend James from Bombadil. The three of us started an ambient label. So that was a big deal. We released a tape or an album every single month for all of 2023. So mine
Wow.
was March.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Thanks.
So cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Bathysphere Records. And for those of you that don't know me as a songwriter, my music is under Siren and the Sea. So you can always go check it out. But enough about my bragging. What about you? Someone else.
Jack, you want to go?
Well, there were some new things that happened for me last year. And one of the big things for me was working with a producer, Jamie Hill.
Cool.
He was actually wrote on our blog, and I I found out about him that way, and I liked his sort of perspective on music. And so I hit up actually Chris Robley. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this guy? And he's like, he's awesome. So I hit him up, and I started working with him and released a song called Palm Springs in
Yes, it
the
was so
summer.
good.
Banger,
Thank you.
banger tune.
Thank you. Yeah,
And
that
where
was
can we
fun.
find it? What's the artist name?
Jerk Rabbit, one
Yeah.
word. um, yeah, that was fun. We even went to Palm Springs as well and recorded some of the music video there too. So it was very authentically Palm Springs. But that was a big thing for me because I mean, I've collaborated with people and worked with in studios before, like a long time ago in bands. But since I started Jerk Rabbit and sort of doing this bedroom producing thing, I always did everything myself. So working with the producer was pretty cool. And I only released one song. It's not a ton, but like you said, there's
That's
I have 3 daughters, a job, all
yeah.
this stuff going on. So hey, still a win
That's what we're
to
celebrating
release
now.
that.
That's what we're celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I wrote some of these things down in my notebook here. I did a full year of singing lessons. I've never done singing lessons.
Oh, cool. How did
How
that
did
Yeah,
that
with
go?
go?
with my buddy Luke. It was a slow start. I probably should practice more in between lessons, but um, it was great. I mean, by the end of this year, I was really starting to feel how I'm using my diaphragm. Really,
Nice.
just like not so much tension in my throat and stuff like that. So feeling pretty confident in my singing. I mean, there's a long way to go, but feeling better about that. So that's cool.
That's cool.
I did start my first collaboration with another artist too. Again, I've collaborated in bands before, but once I've been doing my own thing, I haven't actually collaborated with another artist. So my buddy O'Henny, we started collaborating on a song, and that's going to be coming out this year. So that's
Yeah.
cool. So I'm excited
Henny,
about that.
who is a DIY musician, podcast listener, and also has attended our conferences several
How y'all
times.
met,
So
right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's got an album coming out, The Late Bloomer, in February as well,
nice.
which I've had a sneak peek on. It's really good. Yeah, so those are some of my wins. I don't think. Oh, and I actually interviewed some artists last year
Yeah.
for this podcast, which I learned a lot from them. So to me, that was a musical win too.
I know. I was also going to say, I think hosting this podcast to me was a win as well. I mean, this is a creative endeavor for all of us. And, we got the reins from Kevin and Chris as they moved on to other things. And it's exciting to have taken us on. So thanks to everybody who let that happen.
Yeah, thank you.
What about you,
What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think I had a pretty good musical 2023. One of the bands that I play in, called Delicate Friend. We released our first EP last spring, and the whole process was really fun. And I think we were really well prepared going into the studio. We took just a weekend at a studio called Salon Sonics here, like right along the river, in Minneapolis, and we worked with producer engineer named Nat Harvey, who's done stuff for a lot for the band Low. I don't know
Oh,
if you all
cool.
are familiar with them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great producer and engineer. And so we just did like a bunch of prep before going to the studio. Like we practiced with a metronome and like decided, okay, here are like exact tempos and figured out
Wow.
like all the arrangements and everything just to make it like really seamless going into the studio. So then we recorded it, got it all mixed and mastered, and we had a really fun release show at a place called the Hook and Ladder here in Minneapolis as
Cool.
well. That was really fun. So yeah, just super proud of that project and happy with how those songs turned out. So
Cool. Congratulations.
yeah, thanks.
What was it like practicing to a metronome? That seems
Very
challenging to me.
familiar from going from
Mm.
being a music major, like
Yeah.
that was, and I think
Mhm.
all of us in the band studied music in some capacity in college, so like it was fairly
Mhm.
familiar, but it did expose a lot of things of like, wow, we really rush in this section and this is not gonna work over in the studio.
Totally. And so this was your
Yeah.
first full release, like start to finish. You not only started recording it, you recorded it and you released it and put on a show.
Yeah. Yep.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. We released 2 of the songs as singles first and then did
Cool.
all 3 together as like the package at the end.
That's like the ideal year. That to me,
Yeah.
you just won 2023.
I know, right?
Um,
And
so
you
that's so cool.
so all that prep before the studio, did that really help you guys in the studio, like, be really efficient and get things done?
Yeah, I'd say so, and Nat had a lot of really nice things to say about that too. They
Cool.
were like, "Yo, y'all were so prepared." Like,
I know.
I've worked with bands that are not, and and it can be a
Yeah,
challenge. So
Yeah. I'm
super
totally
rad.
the opposite. Yeah. I just go and wanna feel it, man. Uh,
Yeah, hold on, I gotta write some lyrics, hold on.
well, dang, verse 2
uh,
is not written.
serious or like
Typical, yeah, verse 2.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say
Or
that was probably, like, the biggest one, at the beginning, and then I also we got to play some really fun shows at a new kinda hot Minneapolis venue called the Green Room,
oh,
and they just, celebrated their 1-year anniversary, and they've had, gosh, I think over 100 shows this year and a lot of really successful ones. I think it's like a 200-ish cap venue, so not, huge or
nice.
anything, but yeah, they've had some cool bands come through and we were happy to be among them with Delicate Friend.
Shout
Heck
out to
yeah.
Minneapolis. One of those amazing music cities that doesn't get I don't think gets talked about enough in the list of music cities, but one
Mhm.
of the best cities I think I've ever played for sure.
Nice.
I've never
Yeah,
been
I
there.
think I think we're friendly here.
Yes, it's very cool and vibes are right. Okay, my last 2 really quickly was I got my first TV sync placement this year, which was a big deal for me. I'm
Yeah,
proud
What
of
was the
it.
show?
that's
It
awesome.
was Single Drunk Female. Here's the thing though. So, you get your sync placement. Usually it's through an agency. I have a sync team at Marmoset licensing. So they reached out and they said, we're going to put your song way out on this TV show. And you sort of like negotiate a fee or whatever. And then I was so excited because that song is one of my favorite songs on my last record for bathing. But it just didn't get as much plays as I had wanted it to, on streaming and all that. And I was really bummed because that was the one that I felt like I had put the most work into. There's like horn arrangements that my husband did. There's just like some really amazing arrangements on it, vocally as well. So anyway, I was really excited for it to like get a moment. And so we watched the show and we're like, where is it? They told us what episode it was gonna be on. We couldn't figure it out. And then finally, my husband's like, I think that's it on the radio in the background of the scene. And so it was like you could barely hear it, it's just like dun, 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 and I was so bummed. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I got a sync placement. So,
Yeah,
Heck
you
dude.
yeah.
know, dude, freaking won that for sure.
Now
Yeah.
how did that come about?
Just my licensing team. So if you have an agency that you partner with or a team, they will pitch your music. We have that here at CD Baby if you use CD Baby Boost. But basically, the team will pitch your music to pitches that are coming in for them. So they'll get like, we're looking for a female-driven piano pop song, upbeat, and so they'll find the right thing. And so that's how that happens. But yeah, good
So
stuff.
cool.
And then, I released an actual lyrical song last year, which is a big one for me because I hadn't done that in a minute. But that's enough of my wins. Let's anyone else? Is that everyone's wins?
No.
Cool.
I had a couple more.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and these are, I guess, a little bit smaller, but definitely still wins. One of them was that got I got a new guitar amp that's a modeling
Nice.
amp that has just like so much functionality built in and can also like be connected to software. It's just
Mhm.
a Boss Katana. It's like one of the biggest selling amps of all time, but it was like very
Cool.
a different kind of zone for me. And I'm just really happy that I did all my research and figured out that this was what I wanted to be able to like explore a bunch of different effects and like find really cool guitar tones without having to spend like a bunch of money on pedals and lots of plugins and stuff like that. And so I did just get it last month, but it's already been like super super fun. So
That's so
definitely a
cool.
win for me. And then the last one I had was that I used the word bullied, which is like probably not the most accurate term, but like I bullied my bandmates into letting me play trumpet on more songs.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, just because like I was noticing
Persuaded.
persuaded, that's a much better word. I was noticing that on some of the newer stuff we were working on, I was like, I don't know if a second guitar is the best thing on this. Like it seems
Right.
like everything's kind of being established by the rhythm guitar, and just
Mhm.
like a different color would be really cool. So then, bringing my trumpet to practice and being like, hey, what if we tried this? And
Love it.
there's some cool stuff that I'm looking forward to recording with more trumpet on it.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Congrats. This was
Thanks.
a really good exercise, I think, and I really encourage you, if you're at home listening, to do the same. Go ahead, take 30 minutes out of your morning tomorrow morning, or even today after this call, after this podcast, and write down what were your wins of 2023. And like, they can be as tiny as buying an amp, which I don't think is tiny, but you know what I mean? Like, it can be something that an actionable item that you did that is helping move your musical ambitions forward. It could be something really big that you feel, I can't believe that happened for me this year. But regardless of what it is, be proud of it, write it down, record it in some way so that 2023 was a year that you did stuff. And it could even be like meeting another musician that you've connected with, and you guys might be talking about playing a show in the future. All of those things are steps. So I'm really proud of both of you, and thanks for
Likewise,
doing
Christina.
that exercise
Yeah.
with me.
No, super fun. I feel like it also kind of lends its hand toward gratitude too, kind of just,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so thankful that we can
Mhm.
do this. We are creatives that can put our music out in the world ourselves. And
I mean, yeah.
it's awesome.
And it takes a team. Like, most of those things that we all listed off included other people.
Mhm.
So there's gratitude to all those other people that wanted to work with us on something, or let us work with them on something, or wanted to be part of a team. So, or were willing to be open to a new idea. So
Mhm.
it's gratitude towards yourself and the work that you put forward, but also towards the craft and collaboration and all those things. So
Yeah.
please try that exercise, and then let us know. Not only, I'm going to repeat this later, but let us know how that works for you. podcast@cdbabypodcast.com. Send an email. I really like reading your emails. Even if I don't get back, I promise you I am reading them. So thanks for sending them. Okay, switching gears. We've talked about our wins. Now the goals. So I'm going to say resolutions, but I know that word can be controversial, I think. Some
Yeah.
people feel like they hate it. I don't, because I think goals are great. So even I think that one of the things people hate is that generally when you think about New Year's resolutions, they're really toxic. Like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going
Yeah.
to, get a new job. Or, not that that's toxic. Those are positive things if those are your goals. But that being said, sometimes we have outside pressures that are making us feel like we have to hit these enormous milestones by the end of the fourth quarter of the year. And we want to sort of encourage the minutia, the smaller or even larger ambitious goals, but in actionable and like bite-sized ways. So
Yeah. I think it's
yeah.
good to make them like measurable. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
something that you feel like you can actually check it off. See, I did it,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
thinking about Rachel, you went into the studio last year and you recorded an album, you released 2 singles, you released an album, you played a show. All of those things happened, but it's not like they all happened at once, right? You had to sort of do
Right.
the work each day to make it happen. And so to me, I see like maybe 6 different goals in that, which, and not even
Mhm.
including marketing, promotion, and all of that other stuff that you have to sort of think about. But I see, you had to find a producer, you had to or find a studio to work in, you had to practice every day to a metronome. Like, those sorts of goals to me are worth writing down, when you have big ambitious goals as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I'll start.
Cool. Go
Oh,
ahead.
unless you wanted to.
Oh, I was just gonna go back just real quick on the resolutions thing because I also am like the word resolution. So I actually
Mhm.
started um, using a word for the year instead of like a resolution. Like I'm gonna do this. I started every year just having a word for the year,
Hmm.
which kind of allows you to,
Like a mantra?
yeah, you can narrow in on one sort of theme, but then it's broad enough to be able to it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this 5 times
Right.
or whatever. You know what I mean? It's more broad. Like this year, my word for the year, as cheesy as it might sound, is habit. And I just want to
Oh,
make
Nice.
sure that I think about habits. And when it comes to music, that's actually one of my goals is making it a habit, a daily habit.
hmm
And that's just I don't know. I just throwing that out there. It's kind of been a different way to look at resolutions, but
yeah,
maybe have a word for the year. I don't know.
I
Have you
like
read the
that.
book? Oh yeah, this is what happens when you have 3 people. uh, have you read Atomic Habits, Jack?
Yes, that was exactly one of the things I was going to say. Is that I've read that. I just bought my brother that book, and we're
Nice.
gonna read. I'm gonna read it again with him. So yes, I
Cool.
love
I
that book.
haven't read it. It's on my list, but I wondered if maybe that had something to do with it.
That had a little bit to do with it. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't read that, and that sounds really good. Who is it by?
It's James Clear, and I also recommend his newsletter. It's like one. It's called like 123 or something. With James Clear, it's like my favorite email that I get. I think it's once a
Mm.
week,
Hmm,
and it's just super helpful and cool and inspiring and all the things.
very
Check it out.
cool. I want to think of a word. I feel like I can't on the spot, but
Yeah.
maybe if I were to think of one on the spot, the first thing that's coming to mind is patience. Um,
Mhm.
like I said, there's a lot happening in my life personally in 2024, and I know that there will be things that I'll want to accomplish that might not happen. And so I want to have patience with myself if those things don't happen because there's just a lot of change coming and that's just you can never plan it. So patience, yeah, I think that sort of feels like an excuse if things don't go right, but
No,
I don't know.
I think that's awesome. I've thought about patience in the past too, or I think about it a lot. And one thing that I've kind of said to myself is like, be in a hurry to take action, but be patient for results. Maybe you know what I mean? Because a lot of times you're like, this thing isn't working, or it doesn't have a million streams yet, or blah blah. But it's more about putting the work in, and when it comes to
Yeah.
music, like getting the music out there. That's the big win. And don't be in too much of a hurry, but be patient for what's to come. You know.
Totally.
Mhm.
Do you can you on the spot think of one range? I don't
I
know.
did. I think it's gratitude for me this year. And I've already kind of just I know it's only like 8 days into 2024, but I've been, thinking back on just some stuff from last year and also some stuff that's happened in the past few days. And I'm like, there's this TikTok sound that's going around right now, and it's just like a clip from a song, and it's like, I think I like this little life, and that's how it goes. Uh, and yeah, just I like it. Some people are like cringing at it, but which fair. But it makes you kind of look at things and say like, wow, I have it pretty good in a lot of different areas of my life, and yeah, just super thankful for that stuff.
I think we
Love it.
all have gratitude towards the fact that this is our day job.
Yeah,
Uh, that's
real.
that's something that I'm really grateful for. Also, just that we get to be creatives, period. There's so much happening in the world, and there are people that don't have that privilege right now. They don't have any, and we have that and more. So I am very grateful. All right, let's dive in. Resolutions or goals or action items or settings or intentions, whatever that word is, let's do it. So, one thing that I have really neglected is practicing. Just like Jack, you said you needed to practice vocally between your vocal lessons. I have not just sat down at the keys and just practiced in a very long time. I think too long if you're to count me as a musician. So that's something that I really need to do. I really would like to play shows this year, play a show. That's one of the goals I had. So in order to do that, I need to be able to feel confident that I can just get on stage and do that. In the past, I literally never practiced. I would just jump on stage, perform a song I wrote that day, and I felt confident that I could do that. I don't have that anymore. It's been a long time since I've been on stage. It's been a long time since I've sort of been that well rehearsed, and like confident in that way. So practice. That's a big one. Practice and playing a show. Um, Yeah.
Cool.
I'll just bullet through mine because I don't think that we need to. So spending more time practicing, that comes with patience, I think, as well,
No
and
doubt.
also habit. Playing a small show or two before May. That's like an actionable item I have. I'd like before May of 2024, I'd like to have played a frickin' show because it's been too long and I have way too many excuses for why I haven't. In February, I'd like to do FOM again. And again, as a reminder for those that don't know what FOM is, it's February Album Writing Month. It's an opportunity for people all over the world. There's actually a website about it. You can write and record an album in 1 month. It doesn't mean it has to be perfect by the end of the month, but the idea is that you've completed a song every 2 days. So by the end of the month, you have 14 songs for 28 days. It is how I did the album that I did in this year that I released in March. Sometimes people do it a little loosey-goosey. Like I've used it in the past as an opportunity to work through material that I've already written and sort of just like finish off those songs that you never finished that are just sitting like half draft. I think that I'm going to use it this year as an opportunity to write a balance of songs that are missing for like the larger picture album that I have in mind. A lot of the songs I have are a little like sad and depressing, and I need some positivity and yeah. So I'd like to spend February sort of working on that. That's sort of a challenge to go into it with that intention because I think sometimes it's really nice to just go in and say, I don't care what comes out. At the end of the month, I'll have something I like. But to go in and say, I need to write some songs for an album can sometimes be a little bit of a mind fludge.
Yeah.
So that can be scary, but it doesn't matter. Like the stakes are low. If you don't like anything you wrote in February, then whatever, you did it. It's a habit. It's a dedication. I also really, 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 really recommend it to anybody who feels like they need a kick in the pants to sit down and write music because there's sort of like an online community. So you've got other people. My friends and I do it in a way where it'll be like 3 or 4 friends and we have like a private SoundCloud or a private Bandcamp and we upload whatever that song was on the second day. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes it's voice memos. Sometimes it's just like a really shitty rough draft of a song, but you did it. You wrote it, you know?
So you have sort of a deadline every 2 days? Gotta put that
Yeah, and I
song in there?
mean, I have some friends that just wait till the end of the month and then upload all the songs at the end of the month.
Mhm, mhm,
Like there's like the serious way to do it and then there's the loosey goosey way to do it, which is what
mhm.
I think my friends and I do. But really recommend it. I really
Cool.
think you guys should
Yeah,
try it.
super
It's
ambitious. It seems scary.
it's
I mean,
not
I
as
know
scary
I
though
know
as you
you're
think.
still saying it doesn't have to be perfect and stuff, but man,
Mm-mm.
it's tough to put that perfection aside, you know what I mean?
That's
I
the
find
whole
that hard too.
exercise.
The point of it,
I
right?
mean, there's other games too, like there's the 20 song game where you write 20 songs in 12 hours. Like that is the perfect exercise of just letting go
Yeah.
of perfection. It's just like whatever stupid fart is coming out, I'm going to just write it and record it and then move on. Like there's no time to judge it. So that's sort of what FOM is, except you have like a day to toil with it before you move on to the next
And
thing.
there
So
is there any intention necessarily or part of that where you're supposed to release it or it's just kind of for you?
no,
Yeah.
there's no pressure to release it. But like I said, I did this year, you know, I liked it. It was
Mhm,
ambient, so it was easier for me to do that. In the past, I had used it to finish albums and I did release that music, but not in its form. You know, those were demos to me. Like what I had at the
mhm.
end of the month were demos, and then I would take those into the studio and properly record them. Yeah, and some people like that are really good at recording and writing and engineering and all that all at the same time, which, you know, is something I'm always trying to work on, but I know my strengths.
Mm.
Those people do write, record, and release perfect things. I think with ambient, it
Wow.
was easier because it's just literally you're just writing and recording your performance. So I didn't have to go into the studio to redo those. But when it comes to something lyrical, I usually do. So
Mhm.
that's a big goal of mine with the idea of I'd like to finish the year of 2024 with a record fully ready to take to the studio, much like what you did in 2023, Rachel. Like I'd like to have it drafted, completely demoed out, ready to take into the studio and and do on a grander level. So that's just, to me, a pretty like easy goal, because now I have 12 months to finish something I've already been working on for 2 years. And that's not as hard as saying I'm going to write, record, and release an album by May, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
challenging. Those are my big ones. I think that it was
Nice.
practice, show, finish the year strong with an album, maybe buy a new synth. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to what you make this year, Christina.
Thanks. This is a big creative year for me.
And I love your vocals, so I can't wait to
Thank you.
hear an album with vocals on it.
Thanks. I love both of your vocals too.
Oh, thanks.
All right, who's ready to take the big scary leap into resolutions?
All right, Rachel, you go for it.
Sure. So I am currently enrolled in a course with an organization called School of Song. And they're really cool. Like they offer courses in like every aspect of songwriting, but one of the bigger things that they do is they bring in guest teachers every once in a while that are like pretty well-known people. And so the course that I'm enrolled in right now is with Adrienne Lenker, who is like one of my favorite songwriters. Like she's incredible, does great solo work, is in the band Big Thief, and releases great stuff with them. And so it's a month-long course for January. And the goal is that at the end you have 4 songs, so 1 song a week. And there are lectures and song sharing sessions. I don't know how many people are enrolled in this course this time, but it's a lot of people because, she's got a lot of big fans. But we actually had our first session last night. And so it was like an hour of songwriting exercises and sharing with like breakout groups over Zoom. And then the other hour was just like a long lecture from Adrienne that was so inspiring, so incredible. Like it blew my expectations out of the water, honestly. She talked a lot about her process, and she dove into her lyrics for one of my favorite songs of hers called Anything. And she really like zoomed in and was like, this is what I was thinking here. This is why I like this lyric. And it actually made me think of the song in like a totally different way, hearing it from her perspective. So that's a goal for sure, is to complete the course, write the 4 songs, take all the knowledge from the course and just really employ it into some new stuff. So
That
I'm
sounds
super
really
pumped.
fun and exciting, that class in general.
Yeah, and she's a great songwriter.
Totally.
incredible.
And so, I mean, what a great teacher.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And she was really vulnerable too. She's like, I am super nervous to do this. I'm not normally like a teacher kind of person. But she killed it completely. Like it was so good.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I need that kick in the pants, to like actually pay for something and then take part in it.
Once you put money on the line, then you get serious, right?
It's interesting what motivates people, because, sometimes it's accountability. So, for example, this is a class, so you've got all these other people, you're sort of held accountable by this teacher. You also have to upload and share what you're working on by the end of the week. Some people, it's financial. Like, yes, I spent $500 or whatever on this class. I have to finish it. And that can motivate people. Some people, it's praise. Like, I know a lot of people where their main motivation is knowing that at the end of something, they're going to get praise or they're going to get feedback or whatever. It's not a bad thing. It's an interesting motivation. And some people, it's title. I've read that before, that their main motivation is having the next accolade, being able to say, I am a award-winning producer, or whatever the title is. And all of those are totally valid motivations. And it's very interesting what people are motivated by. Anyway, I interrupted.
Yeah, whatever gets you there, right?
Yeah. So that's when it's great. It'll be done by the end of this month. So that's pretty cool. In February, one of my goals is to make 10 quality connections at Folk Alliance International, which I'm really grateful to get to go to through work here at CD Baby. And I'll also be giving a presentation at that I am working really hard on, trying to make it like just super awesome. So yeah, make those 10 quality connections with, other industry people, other musicians, and then also just give a kick-ass presentation at a conference for the first time. I've never done that before. So a little nervous, but it's also really cool.
You're going to do great. If anybody has not been to Folk Alliance before and you're in the folk world, highly recommend going and doing that. It's an incredible week of music. I mean, there's shows all night, usually until 3 in the morning in hotel rooms. So sanctioned, and like sponsored. But Rachel's going to give a presentation on short form video, and everyone's very lucky to have you.
Oh, thanks.
So cool.
Yeah, those are my two big ones. What do you got, Jack?
Well, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was figuring out a way to make music part of my daily habit, because I sometimes will let a week, 2 weeks go by and I haven't really done. I mean, I'll pick up my guitar or something, but just want to make sure it's part of my daily routine. And I'm thinking about goals in the sense of like, how could they kind of work as a synergistic thing? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I start with figuring out how to making music a habit on the daily, that's gonna then serve itself towards my other goals. And one of those other goals is to release more music than I ever have before. So my specific goal is to release 10 songs. I've been releasing singles, so it'll probably be singles still. I don't really have any full like concept for a full album, and I could be a bit schizophrenic with my styles in music. So probably just 10 singles, but yeah, I definitely feel like making it a habit on the daily will help me achieve that goal.
Do you have like a time, like an amount of time that you want to work on stuff, like 20 minutes a day or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually thought about that, and I don't want to put a lower or like a low limit. Like it could be 5 minutes, right? It has to be something. I put a maximum of 60 minutes because I do have to do other things and we at work and stuff like that. So I and I also feel like that might motivate me to like get stuff done, like get to work right away.
Totally.
But I didn't
That
want to put a lower limit. If I only have 5 minutes in me, the hardest thing is starting.
Dude, just sitting down for 5 minutes is already I mean, think about how it takes 5 minutes to go through a song, right? If you just practice one song once a day, you're still going to be better than you were if you didn't practice at all, or if you didn't try to sit down and write at all. So 5 minutes, there's a saying that my mom used to say that said that I don't really quite, I mean, I'm not like a good paraphraser, but basically it was just that if you take 5 minutes to do something today that you'll be thankful for tomorrow. So, for me, it was like making the bed, things that later me will be grateful that I did it, because then my brain will be easier, will be more clear. Or if you clear your inbox for 5 minutes, you're going to be a lot more grateful that you did that, because now you're able to think more clearly. So practicing for 5 minutes, practicing for an hour, whatever that is, take that minute, do it.
Yeah, and I feel like a key to it too is just because for other things that I have developed into a habit, it's like don't think about it, because the moment I start thinking about it, I'll make up excuses as why I don't have time, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. So it's really about just like don't think, just go and do it. Time block it if you have to. And protect that time. Don't make it sort of loosey goosey, but be like, no, this is an important thing. And I think that'll lead to creating more. And I heard a kind of a cool thing from Jack Conti, who is in Pamplemousse and started Patreon. I suggest following him. He's got a lot of cool social media content. But one of the things that we think about is like quality or quantity over quantity. Like they almost seem like they're clashing or something. But a cool thing that he said is quantity leads to quality. I'm like, and it's true. Like the more you release, the more you work on things and finish songs, the better the next one's going to be, the better the next one's going to be. So incorporating a habit, releasing more songs, a lot more quantity. The idea is then to kind of get to a higher quality as well.
That's
feel
why
like
I like
that's especially true with music, because like there really is no shortcut or easy way as much as people may tell you differently, you have to put in the 10,000 hours or whatever it is
Mhm.
to really like hone your craft and start to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do things at that, quicker pace, making those brain circuit connections and everything. You just got to put in the time.
You do.
That's why I also like those sprints, the sprint challenge of a month, or like the 60 songs, like you write a song every single day for 2 months challenges, because it's sort of condensing what should just be habit into like a short amount of time, and you're able to create quantity to find the one piece of quality. But if you're able to spread that over time, that's more ideal, because I do think you grow. I mean, we grow every day. So like the more time that you put into something, the more days that go by, the more you're going to grow, the better the quality will be, I believe.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I also want to collaborate with at least 5 more artists this year, because it's been super fun. And it kind of goes back to also that accountability thing. For me, it is
Mhm.
more of like an accountability versus money on the line or something like that. Like if I know someone's waiting on me,
Mhm.
I'm gonna get in there and work on it and get it done. So that lends its hand to more quantity, as well. But also it's a good networking, which is important in this industry as well, and just and then getting exposure to other audiences when you collaborate with other artists. So
For real. Well, there's 2 in the room right now, so
I know. Oh, I got my eyes on you. Yeah, we've talked
it's
about
good.
this before too. So
We could
yeah,
super group it.
let's super group it.
Nice. Was that
um, I had one more. And I wanted to bring it up because I was going to ask you, Christina, about this. One thing, and hopefully, again, quantity will lend its hand to this, because I think
Mhm.
sync licensing agents
Mhm.
like to see maybe consistency of releasing and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I'm going to start researching, reaching out, and try to find a sync licensing agent. Now,
Mhm.
Christina, do you have any recommendations as to how someone can go about that or find
As far as
an
finding
agent?
a sync agency, I would say start local. So if there's anyone locally, regionally, potentially that artists of your local community are using, start there. Um, that's how I did. I lived in Portland, Oregon, and Marmoset was Portland, Oregon based. So I just happened to know a lot of people that worked there, and their A&R had seen me perform and had heard my music. So that was an easy thing, because it was close. Um, so there's that, or do your larger research and start pitching yourself to other agency. One thing that I will say is an interesting thing, because I always thought, like for me, I thought sync music, oh, well, I could just make a bunch of music specifically just for sync. And yes, you can do that, but a lot of these places that you're pitching to want you to be an established, or not established artist. They want you to be a real artist, not just like a moniker. So for a while I thought, well, I'll just start pitching a bunch of music that I don't personally release, but they don't want that really. They want it to be music that's out there, that can be Shazammed and that can be traced back to you as an artist. So it sort of does go back to recording and releasing more music for you, which also helps build you as an artist anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, so
that's
they're looking for that authenticity, not
they're looking for released music,
yeah,
distributed music.
sure.
Right. Rather than like, here's 30 different guitar hook songs that I recorded specifically as options, which, on some level, I wish it were more like that, because I could sit down maybe in a day and write like 5 songs to pitch. But to write 5 songs that I'm going to release is going to take a lot longer than that. So, yeah, so definitely I think habit forming, all of those things will help creating. And like you said, you have ideas to release all this music this year. So to start creating that habit of releasing consistently and start pitching that to agencies.
Sweet. That's all I've got. Thank you.
That's all I've got.
I had a couple more little ones. I really want to do what I think will be a really good thing for my growth as a guitar player, and that is to really establish like almost like a signature tone to
Oh,
build on top
yeah.
of. Like I really want the idea is to, if someone heard me playing from the next room and couldn't see who I was, that they
Mhm.
would know that it's me, from
I love that.
whatever tone I figure out. And right now I feel like I'm always just like modeling after other people or being like, well,
Mhm.
how does this band do it? How does this guitar player do it? I want to figure out what is my thing with playing style and tone. So who knows how long that'll take. Hopefully I can get that done this year, or at least like get a
Dang.
really good start on it. Might be more of a lifelong thing. I don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought about that. I think that'll be fun to work on.
You got the
And
amp
then
for it now.
I do, yeah, and that's gonna be
Yeah.
a whole thing, like, diving in, and then really once you get into that tone world from what I've experienced and what everybody else has told me, it's like you can spend your whole life, like, working on that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, so
And also, I mean, it may evolve. So,
yeah.
but I know what you're talking about where you hear that guitar line and you're like, "Oh, I know that that's Radiohead." You know, like I know
Mhm.
Or Jack
exactly
White.
who
Yeah.
right. I know exactly who
Yeah,
that is. But it may be different. I mean, different album to album. It doesn't mean you're pigeonholed into one specific like set of pedals or one specific like amp or whatever. It just means you have a style that people recognize immediately. And that's
yeah,
even if that does take a long time to sort of establish, just setting that intention of saying, I'm going to practice and I'm going to get my shit together to try to make that happen that's a goal.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then my last one is another guitar related goal. I have this acoustic guitar that I've had since like 2015. It's a small body Martin, and it's like kind of designed to mainly sound really good coming out of a PA and be like a really
Mm,
good singer songwriter guitar for gigging and stuff. But the more that I've played it, I think that I want like a dreadnought style guitar instead of this cutaway, like super thin body Martin. And so I'm trying to sell that guitar and buy a Guild D40, like a used one, either a vintage one or more of a post 2000s one, and have that be my, like my main acoustic guitar. So yeah, if you
hey,
look on Reverb
podcast.
for if you look on Reverb for
cdbabypodcast.com.
a Martin OMC PA4 Rosewood, that's my guitar. One of them, the one that looks the most legit. So if you're interested, it's a great guitar, I promise, but not for me anymore.
This is a great platform to try to sell
Nice.
guitars,
I know,
honestly. I
right?
think a lot of our listeners are probably guitarists as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I know.
well, I know that that was sort of scary to say these things out loud, not only the things that we're looking forward to, but also the things that we're grateful happened last year. I think for some reason that one even seemed harder to me with saying like, "Oh, look what I did." But it's a really good exercise. I mean, did you guys enjoy it?
I
Yeah,
loved it.
super
We just
fun.
started
Actually,
our year with goals. That feels
I know,
great.
right? This is gonna be a big year. Let's make it a good one, you know? Actually, I thought
Yeah.
of one more
Oh, okay.
before we're done with it. Because you said it too, play a show this year.
Mhm.
And I've been like this kind of bedroom producer, right? I've been like layering stuff together and it's just all me. So I'm trying to figure out what does a live show look like
Mhm.
for me? You know, it could be get a band together, which seems a little daunting. So I'm kind of
Mhm.
leaning against that. Um, so I'm leaning towards rather than all like looper pedal type of thing, I'm thinking maybe find like a drummer
Mhm.
and then backing tracks. And so it's two people up there. I feel
Mhm.
like maybe two people is a little more entertaining than one person up there on stage. I don't know.
It
Um,
depends. Yeah,
yeah,
it depends.
and
Sometimes it can be scarier to be alone on stage, you know? I know as
mhm.
somebody that had a six-piece band, the idea of doing solo to me is it's just scary because now I know, like, what six-piece can sound like, and then I feel like people are just gonna be bored with just me on there, and they're gonna think, "Oh, all she can do is solo." You know, these things that get in the way, and then I end up not playing a show for 4 years. So, it's don't let that stuff sort of get gunked up in there.
Yeah, yeah, and I've always, I think, previously hesitated about backing tracks. Like that's
Mhm.
like kind of weird to have live, but I think that's being more accepted and more
Oh yeah,
common these
Yeah.
days. You know what I
all the
mean?
big people. Yeah, I mean, unless you want to pay for 15 people to be on stage with you, you know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
choose a
Plus, I
backing
feel like
track.
you could really get a good, like a lot of great sound, and just make the show even more exciting. So we'll see. But yeah, one show by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's attainable.
It's attainable.
It's super attainable. Same, dude. I got pandemic paralyzed. Basically, played my last show the week before the pandemic, but also happened to be the week before I moved. I moved to LA the week after, or the week before the pandemic, and thought I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna crush it. Find another band. I loved my band in Portland, and I still do, and still talk to them all the time. But they're far away now, so I don't have that. And it has been 4 years now, and I've been using that excuse for why I haven't found other people to play with, or why I haven't gotten the balls to go on stage and even do a stupid open mic. Like, why can't I just go play a small show? So similarly, my goals are small. Like, I actually don't want to do a big show. I kind of just want to do a little underground DIY situation where I just play the new stuff, because I have so many new songs that I have never sang out loud to an audience. And that is my goal, is just go do a small intimate thing. It might even be when I go back to Portland or something, because I may not have that audience here. But regardless,
I like the idea of just like one as well, because
mhm,
again, the
it
starting
opens the door.
usually is the
Yeah.
hardest part.
Yeah.
Taking the plunge is the hardest part. Once you do that, you go, oh, I can do this, and that could be
Seriously.
the catalyst that snowballs.
Snowball, yeah.
It's also hard. I don't know about you too, but as sort of the podcast cheerleader of independent music, I get in my head sometimes, because I'm here helping and coaching artists on how to do these things, and saying, just go out there and play a show, or just go out there and find a band, or just go out there and record your album and release it. And here's some tips on how to do it. But as an artist, I too get freaking paralyzed, or get stuck, or can't think about how to move forward one step. So this exercise for me has been really helpful, because I think sometimes I get stuck in, well, I'm just work mode, Cristina. I'm just DIY musician, podcast host, Cristina. And I forget that I am also a musician that has spent 36 years playing music. So I need to focus on that. So that's my big goal. Let's work on what makes us us.
Love it.
Me too.
Love it.
So good.
Thank you guys for doing this exercise with
This
me.
has
Okay,
been
I
so
want
fun.
everybody at home to do it. I want you
Yes.
to send an email, and on the next episode, I will read a few emails, or read a few of people's goals. podcast@cdbabypodcast.com. Let us know how it went for you. I would love to hear sort of like what you learned about yourself in the process of writing this. So, yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. I
Great
hope
to see you
everybody
both.
has an amazing 2024. Let's kick some ass. Let's get some shit done.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. We are going to bring on Rue now from CD Baby to talk about Tidal Collabs, a new product that Tidal has launched. Very exciting collaborative feature. So I'm not even going to speak on it. I'm going to let Rue go for it. This is a previously recorded segment, so we might look a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a great rest of your week after what has been a very lovely episode, I think, about goal setting, and I really look forward to hearing everybody's goals. So please reach out. And let's talk to Rue. Tidal has a new offering called Collabs, which I find very, very interesting, very cool. A concept that is really needed. I've heard a lot of people talking about it in the last week or so. So could you tell us a little bit about Collabs?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Tidal's been doing a lot of cool stuff for independent up and coming artists. They just launched their Rising program not that long ago. They've launched their artist home dashboard, and Collabs is kind of the next iteration in their big rollout of these exciting new tools. So it's a beautiful concept. I'm actually really excited about it. It's a home hub for artists to be able to connect and interact with each other through messaging. And what it is meant to do is just kind of start as a inspiration diving board for you to talk to other artists and maybe come up with some cool collaborative projects you could do together. So it connects artists directly together for messaging, and it also has a recommendation feature that recommends artists to each other based on whether it thinks they'd work well together,
That's
which is I think is really cool.
Yeah. So you have the
And
opportunity to meet somebody that you wouldn't normally have met and collaborate with them.
And the other thing that's cool about this is that it kind of cuts out that awkward, I'm just going to slide into your DMs and hope that
Right.
you want to collab on a track with me
Oh my gosh.
moment, because everybody that is in Tidal Collabs is an artist who opted to join, right? So they
Mhm.
want to collaborate. They're there to collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. That is such an awkward moment when people slide in, because sometimes they're really cool artists and you want to say yes, but we're not always in that place where we're open for that, or that we have the bandwidth to be collaborating. So this is something you're optionally opting into, and you're getting to meet new people who are also interested. I mean, you're all consenting adults here, basically.
Yes, everybody is here for the same reason, and that is to collab. So that's what
Love
makes
it.
this so cool. I was gonna say, make sure you have your Tidal Artist Home account though, because that is a prerequisite. So, in order to get access to Tidal Collabs, you want to make sure you're signed up for Tidal Artist Home, and that's just artists with an S .tidal.com. And once you are signed up, or if you are already signed up for Tidal Artist Home, once you're in there, you should see a tab called Collabs within your Artist Home account. And that's where you can go to sign up for collabs, or you can go to artists.tidal.com/collaborations.
Love it. And then I know that there's a cool thing right now with Jermaine Dupri, of all people, that if you sign up, if you're in the US, you can sign up to enter a win an in-studio time and like mentorship time with him. Could you explain that a little bit?
So cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is part of the launch is they've offered this kind of sweepstakes style opportunity. So in order to make sure that you have everything set up correctly so that you can enter, you want to follow the steps that we just talked about. So first, make sure you have that Artist Home account, and then sign up for Tidal Collabs. And then during the onboarding process for Tidal Collabs, it'll give you the opportunity to customize your profile. So once you're in there, it'll give you like a place where you can feature specific tracks, for example, or you can do a track story, which I think is so cool. It allows you to kind of tell the story behind a specific song so
That's
that other
awesome. Yeah.
collaborators can understand where you're coming from and your vision, which is so necessary when you're collaborating. And then there's, terms and conditions and all that fun stuff. And then you'll be in. And after that, it'll start giving you some recommendations and some really cool insights in terms of your listeners on Tidal, just like most platforms when it comes to, streaming activity. But it'll show you things like the age of your listeners, the top countries that they're from, and then all of your recommendations for artists to collaborate with will start showing up as well.
Very cool. Well, that's all great. I'm excited to hear more about how that evolves over time. All
Great.
right. Well, I hope you have a good one.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Thanks.